if that person plans on making this a career, you got to look 3, 4, 5 years down the road, or what are you doing? I mean, otherwise you're fighting the glass and you're trying to pick up that new conquest customer that just happens to be maybe driving on the lot or put a lead into the CRM, at that particular moment. Again, great way to sell cars, but man, imagine if you only had to sell half as many new customers every month because you were picking up the other half on a retention. I guarantee you're making more money on a repeat business, and it's easier to sell a second car than it is to sell a first car.
Now, your weekly dose of inspiration, perspiration, and just the right amount of bull defecation. The Get You Some Radio Show with your host, the Vice President of Making Shit Happen, Terry Lancaster.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Get You Some Radio Show. I'm your host, Terry Lancaster, and today's guest is my buddy Owen Moon. Owen Moon is the CEO of Fixed Op Digital. Now, we don't usually talk a lot about the service department on the Get You Some Radio Show. We are sales-oriented, but there's an old saying in the car business that the sales department sells the first car, and the service department sells the second car, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth. So what we're going to be talking about with Owen today is how you, as a salesperson, can work with your service department to boost the customer experience and get them back in so you can get more reviews, more referrals, and more repeat business. Back with Owen Moon with that after this.
Make more friends. Sell more cars. 97% of car shoppers say they would prefer to know their salesperson before they ever set foot in the dealership. People buy from people they know, like, and trust, and they refer their family and friends to people they know, like, and trust. Visit terrylancaster.org to learn how your sales staff can get more reviews, more referrals, and more repeat business by building better, stronger, more authentic relationships online and in real life. terrylancaster.org.
Owen, my man, how you doing, brother?
Good. How you doing? Thanks for having me today.
Oh, thank you for taking time to chat with me. I know you've been super busy. Fixed Op Digital is taking off like a rocket ship. You got a lot of stuff going on because everybody wants to talk about the service department. So tell me this. I mean, let's start with this. Start with why. That's the big deal. Start with why. Why, as a salesperson, why on earth does it matter about the service department? Who cares?
Well, it's funny you say that because there's been so much attention these days to conquesting and to getting that customer in the door and selling them a car. And I think some dealerships are seeing a slowdown. They're starting to see those sales trends maybe shift a little bit downward. There might not be as many leads in their CRM as there has been. And just, people are hanging out in their cars a little longer. So the opportunities to sell a new person a vehicle, I think is starting to become a little more of a challenge in some markets. Now, some markets are just, humming along and they haven't felt it. But I know talking with a lot of dealerships, that's definitely been the case. And so I think where we're really, looking at this is the opportunity. It's the opportunity for the customer or the salesperson that's selling the car to maybe use the service department as an opportunity for that repeat business, for that customer retention side of the business that they didn't normally need because they were so busy picking up new business, along the way.
Yeah, I think that's the double-edged sword of the car business. The car business is all about, and has been for so long, about the new sales, getting new leads and advertising and bringing in new business, and salespeople just really had to kind of stand there and greet people as they walked in the door, or greet people on the phone, or greet the internet leads, and all the leads, all the sales were coming to them. But for a salesperson to take their career to the next level, the fresh ups, that's not going to do it. The fresh ups, there's not enough of those, and they're getting fewer and far between. So you have to start working on getting people back in to get that second car. How is it that the service department, how does it boost retention? What role does it play?
The old days of what do they say, shooting fish in a barrel? I mean, they're over. So one of the biggest challenges, I think, when we look at fixed ops, and when we look at it more from a marketing aspect and a digital aspect, what we're seeing is that more dealerships are struggling to get that customer to service with them. And so, in fact, in some cases, as low as 17% of people that actually buy a vehicle from that dealership will get it serviced. And that number goes down even more, once things expire, like warranty, stuff like that. So, if you've given them a reason to come back because of warranty, that's one thing. But the moment that warranty expires, guess where the customer's going? They're looking for that independent. They want to save money. They're looking for the value proposition of where they can get their oil changed or get their brakes fixed. And unfortunately, to this point, the dealerships have just done a really, really poor job of making that information aware, making that information available for a customer that's coming on your website or out searching for those different services that the dealership offers. So, that's a challenge that we're dealing with every day at Fixed Ops Digital. That's what we're really focusing on, is how can we combat that? What are some things that we can do to sort of help the dealership drive more of that service revenue? And because really, when you look at a dealership, why do people come to a dealership to get service? They come for two reasons: because of the quality parts that a dealership will use, and then the experience, the fact that there's certified technicians, and that's really the biggest reason. The parts and the experience are why a customer should service at a dealership. Now, what does that do for the customer, for the salesperson? Not a thing. Salesperson doesn't care that they're using great parts and that they have a certified technician working on their vehicle. But what they do care about is the experience that customer receives when they show up at the dealership for service. Are they greeted by somebody? Are they, shown where to go to sit in, a nice customer lounge that's clean and maybe has some amenities? If they got to get back to work, is there a place for them to jump into a car, to get a ride back? Those are the kind of things, shuttle van. Those are the kind of things that I think the salesperson would find as a valuable piece of the entire customer experience, from sales to service.
So let's talk about the experience. And so there's a correlation, and I don't know the exact number, but there's a correlation between people who get their car serviced at the dealership and when they come back to buy the next car. How does working in the service department, or to what degree does the service department affect that second sale, affect that repeat business, affect the retention?
Well, you say that because actually that just recently talked a little bit about that exact thing. They said that a customer is 2 times more likely to go to the dealership for service over the first 12 months, if indeed there's some sort of introduction at the time of sale. So it's definitely, when we look at the stats and we say, hey, there's not people going to dealership to get service, and then you look at the fact that I bet most dealerships don't have some sort of a process or a thought process to get that service part involved at the time, they're a direct correlation. So, one of the things that I always tell people is, and as I'm talking to different managers, owners, things like that, is, it's not offense and defense, it's sales. It's a whole team at this point. So there's some things that, obviously a salesperson can do at the time of sale, but when it really comes down to it, is you just want to get them involved. You want to make sure that the customer gets a chance to tour the rest of the facility, find out where they actually drop their car off, where they come in and talk to that person to say, hey, my vehicle's here, here's my keys, where to actually go sit at the customer lounge and kind of just give them a little tour of the building at the time of the sale. And that will go a long ways in making sure that that person not only services the car at that dealership, but then that correlation that comes back for that additional sale down the road.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I'd seen the number somewhere. Hang on, I'm looking in here. That the service experience has a direct influence on whether they'll purchase their next vehicle from that dealership. 85% of customers say that service experience has a direct influence on whether they'll purchase their next vehicle from that dealership. So if you're getting them involved in that, you're quadrupling your chances of getting that second sale.
Yeah, and that's the result, right? You get them to introduce them to your service advisor, to the cashier, to anybody in the back side of the building that is going to now work with that customer for the next 3 to 5 years, that's the result. 85% people say it plays a huge role in whether or not they're going to come by and buy their next vehicle from that dealership. So there's no doubt that if that sales guy is looking at a long-term career, which, Terry, I know that's one of your missions in the car business, is to create a solid sales foundation for individual salespeople. Why wouldn't you use your service department as part of the process? I always say, instead of having somebody sit there when, they've agreed on a price and now we're waiting on finance, right? What happens? They normally are sitting there. They're, what are they doing? They're probably looking to make sure they got a good deal. They're also talking amongst themselves, if it's a couple, and they're going, man, do we really want a Toyota or should we keep looking? I mean, there's always that doubt, right? What I would rather do is not give them that time frame. Hey, you know what? They're going to work on your finance documents. In the meantime, let me show you what you get when you buy a vehicle from our dealership. And then you take them around and introduce them to all the different layers of the business, including service, and probably making that a forefront when it comes to it. So, yeah,
you talk about the experience, and you talk about introducing them to people. But the salespeople that I know, the ones that are killing it, that have built the long-term careers, the Frank Cornettis and the Ali Ritas, Kenny Landrum's another buddy of mine who's doing this. They actually play an integral role in the service department. They put themselves up as the touch point for service. Hey, when you need an oil change, contact me. Hey, if you got a problem, contact me. If you're coming into the dealership for any reason, contact me. So what are some other things that the salesperson can do to get in the middle of that service experience, to boost the service experience so they can boost the sales experience?
Well, it's funny you say that, because they talk about in this report that I was reading that customers do not track their service schedules and recalls. Right. Only 29% of all customers are notified by the dealer when it comes time for their next service, when it comes time for a recall. So really being a student of the game, I think, goes a long ways. If you know there's a recall on a Toyota Tacoma, and you sell Toyota Tacomas to a lot of customers, send out those, be proactive. Take some time and send out those emails and say, hey, by the way, I don't know if you've seen this from the OEM, but here is something that I want to make you aware of. Can we schedule that to get it fixed? The other thing is, know who's coming into your service lane every day. If you have a customer base that is growing every month and every year, you want to know when they're coming in to get an oil change. It might be just to say hi and shake their hand, or to bring them a couple cookies or something that you picked up just to say hi. But it also could be because they're in an equity position and you've gone in and done a little research, and now you can actually walk back to them and say, hey, Mr. Customer, I noticed you're in here for this type of service. Did you know that we have 0% for 60 months on that same vehicle, but a new one? I might be able to switch you out of that and save you that expense today. It's always easy to talk about it. It's a little harder when you're on the sales level to just make sure that it becomes a part of your daily mission, I guess.
Well, that is the hard part. So how do we do that? How do we ingrain that habit of knowing who's coming into service, of looking up the equity positions, of actually, doing the thing is always the hard part. How do we do the thing?
Well, you got to use the tools that have at the dealership. There's a lot of tools that dealerships pay for that I always say they're the heaviest. If it was hardware, they'd be just paperweights, right? But now it's all software. It's just all sitting there being for somebody to use. So yeah, the management team should obviously starts at the top, right? The owners investing in it, they should be the ones that are pushing it down into the management team. And then the management team should be making sure that the sales team is utilizing that software. I know so many dealerships that are using or that are buying stuff and paying for stuff every month that they're not utilizing to its full capability. But the other thing is, maybe that's also the responsibility a little bit of the salesperson to say, hey, Mr. Manager, I know we have this piece of software. I don't think anybody's using it. I'd really like to get involved because I care about my customers and I want to build a retention model that makes sense. And, a little bit of that goes a long way, as I think in any business or any career that you're doing. You got to think outside the box a little bit, and you just got to be a little bit harder worker than maybe the guy next to you, and you'll be more successful.
So what are some of the reasons that people aren't coming in for service? I know, and everyone says dealerships are more expensive to get service, and so that's kind of the number one driver that's keeping people away. But I don't know that that's always the case, and especially for trustworthy, rather go know that something's going to get done. But so what's keeping people away, and how do we as salespeople, how do we fight that to get them back in?
I think one of the things that's really keeping people out of the dealerships when it comes to service is the lack of information. And that's something that at Fixed Ops Digital we are doing. Now, that doesn't necessarily affect the salesperson in the short term, but it gives us more information. So when somebody comes to the website or is out searching for that particular service in their market, we're arming the dealerships with the information to have a customer be able to find them. But there are some things that we can do. Like one of the things that we're really pushing to our dealerships is to clear and transparent pricing. Put the services on your website that you offer. That's one of the reasons why the Jiffy Lubes and the Pep Boys and stuff are really doing a good job, is because they are they're putting all that information out there for customers to find. Because if that information is available on the website, then a salesperson can then go right to that place and maybe put that link in an email. Hey, by the way, here's a little information about our oil change special that we have going on. You might want to take a look at that, and it looks like it's about time, and I just want to make sure I save you a little money. Stuff like that. So by us as a company being able to put some more of that stuff in play for the dealers, I think it trickles down to a salesperson being able to use it.
One of the things I've heard you talk about and seen you say is that, when you're doing that service walk, when you take them back into the service department to introduce them to the service manager, the service writer, the receptionist, go ahead and if they're waiting on finance to close on their car, go ahead and book that first oil change when you've got them in there. So get that booked. But let's take it one step further. I know that so many of the so many of the OEMs are now having full maintenance, free maintenance for the first 3 years or 24 months or 36 months. And there's warranties. I bought a new car earlier this year, and I bought the 36-month warranty package. So my warranty's paid for the next, 3 years. So my maintenance is paid for the next 3 years. How is that affecting getting people back in, and how can we use those tools to make sure they come back?
Yeah, I think that a warranty, by nature, by having that warranty, it's going to keep the customer glued to the dealership a little bit. I think where you have to look at it is after the warranty expires. When you start looking at the defection rate that happens after the warranty expires, that's where dealerships really are losing those customers. And the problem is it's at the worst time, right? Because the warranty's up, and now all of a sudden that customer is saving money by going to an independent or what have you. And that's the time when we need to be talking to those guys the most, because that's when things start to happen with their vehicle. Maybe they have some breakdowns, they have some bigger ticket items, and that's also when it gives the salesperson a chance to pick up on that additional sale down the road. So really what ends up happening is those first 3 years, like you said in this warranty case, those first 3 years are really more designed to sort of keep that relationship going. It's really for the next 2 or 3 years afterwards where the sales guy is going to actually see the value. So yeah, starting today seems like just a lot of more work, right? Just more things on the table for a salesperson to do. But if that person plans on making this a career, you got to look 3, 4, 5 years down the road, or what are you doing? That's otherwise you're fighting the glass and you're trying to pick up that new conquest customer that just happens to be maybe driving on the lot or put a lead into the CRM, at that particular moment. Again, great way to sell cars, but man, imagine if you only had to sell half as many new customers every month because you were picking up the other half on a retention. I guarantee you're making more money on a repeat business, and it's easier to sell a second car than it is to sell a first car.
Well, the deal about repeat business is, number one, that it's easier to sell repeat business. They close 4 times faster. You're going to make more margin on the repeat business, and you're going to have happier customers, most of all, because they didn't spend 4 hours in the dealership. They already knew you, they already liked you, they already trust you. So it's all a continuous cycle, and you've got to start thinking about that turn early, because that's how the greats are making the great money is on the turn. If you're constantly looking for that next up, you're kind of in a vicious cycle, and you're always fighting the true cars and the Carvanas, and that's the race to the bottom when you're fighting with fresh people. So what? I promise everyone who watches the show if they'll watch the show, they'll spend 20, 25, 30 minutes with me a week and my buddies, that they'll walk away with something that they can do to create health, happiness, and prosperity in their life. It could be their business. It could be their personal life, just something that's going to make their life better based on what we've talked about today. So, Owen, give us one action step that anyone today can put, as soon as they put down the phone, as soon as they take the earplugs out of the ear, they can go do this right freaking now to start making things better.
Yeah, if you're looking at business, what I would say is get yourself educated on the service side of the business. A lot of sales teams just never even go back there. It's a little scary place for them that they don't have any experience in. Learn why the service department is important and learn how it can help you. And then at that point, come up with an action plan. Use the software that your dealership has. Or if they don't have it, maybe do a little research on some software that can help that retention side of the business, and then put an action plan together on what are the things I can do after the customer leaves with their new car to make sure that I'm constantly keeping in touch with that person. Because if you're always only worrying about the new sale in front of you, those days, those weeks, those months, they end up just flying by, and before you know it, you can't get that time back. So that would be maybe an action plan on the business side of this when you start talking about how the service department can really help you, down the road when it comes to repeat sales and that retention model that we're talking about. And it's becoming more and more important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's always been a huge profit center for the dealerships. It's just a question of using it for the retention. Tell us the role Fixed Ops Digital plays in all this. Tell me a little bit more, because I honestly don't know exactly what it is that Fixed Ops Digital is doing. What all does it do? How does it help complete the cycle? Bring it all back together.
Well, thanks for that opportunity. Obviously, Fixed Ops Digital, we're an automotive service solutions company, and really what we pride ourselves on is being able to provide good quality service content that integrates with the dealership's website for a couple things. First of all, we want that clear and transparent pricing. We want to be able to have customers that come to the website be able to see maybe the top 12 to 15 most common services that dealership offers. A lot of times when I go to a service specials page, I might see one or two unique specials, maybe a window tint special or $5 off an oil change. We want to make sure that the dealership is showing, some of the bigger services, service, transmission flush, things like that. And then what we do behind it is we'll build really, really quality content. When customers are out in the market looking for those services, our landing pages, our content is obviously being, crawled by Google, and Google's looking at, what is the best content for a particular service, and our stuff is moving up and getting into the rankings. And then once you get that click, now you've brought them into your website. And again, that's just another way for us to bring a customer and get them in front of that dealership. So that's at its core is kind of what we're doing. We are moving into some other areas with, some of the digital marketing, paid search, Facebook, because once you build out some of these landing pages, it gives us a lot of opportunity to use it in other parts of the marketing. How can a sales guy use it? Take these landing pages that we're building for the store and use them in their CRM when they're emailing a customer. And so that content can be used in a lot of different ways. But that's really what we're doing is we're just taking dealerships and moving them maybe away from those quarterly mailers and those more traditional strategies that we're finding just aren't working as well for the service side of the business, and really giving them that digital foundation. And it's working. I mean, we've seen some huge growth, not only with our company in terms of the amount of customers that we're partnering with, but what we're doing for them, because obviously everything is, results driven. And so we really look at, what kind of traffic this program is driving and really what it's doing for the dealership from a bottom line standpoint.
All right. And how does anyone get in touch with Owen if they need to get in touch with Owen?
Yeah, man. Like I say, I'm always just a call away, 605-376-0195, or feel free to email me directly. My email is owen@fixedopsdigital.com, Owen@FIXEDOPS digital.com. So definitely shoot me an email, and we can schedule a call to talk.
Owen Moon, the nicest guy in the car business. Owen, appreciate you being on the show. Give him a call. Fixed Op Digital. Owen Moon, the CEO of Fixed Op Digital. Thanks for being on the show, brother. Thank you for watching. We'll see you all next time.
Get You Some Radio. You've been listening to the Get You Some Radio Show. Subscribe today at terrylancaster.tv to hear more episodes, win valuable cash and prizes, and get free training to help you create an army of buyers who know, like, and trust you before they've ever even met you. It's a big, wide world, boys and girls. Get out there and get you some.